Whoa, the sun. What is up, Rap Potential YouTube? Welcome to a blinding sunny summer day, spring day in Tennessee. This is going to be a bonus video for you guys because I normally upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but let me turn my music off here. Alright, but I'm fighting an issue, and we don't like to skip over issues here on this channel. If we got problems, we break stuff, we're going to show you what's up. So, you're going to look inside this car, which you've never seen this car before unless you've been around for a few years on the channel. This is a 1979 RX7. Not that it wouldn't be an RX7 here. Slick top, turbo swap. It's got a haltech GSLC rear axle, 5-lug, and it has an FC front subframe. So, depending on how this electrical issue goes, might depict on what the title of the video is. So, anyways, I'm having this issue where whenever I turn on the marker lights, it instantly pops the fuse for the marker lights, like instantly. So, what I've done, and as you can see, this car is configured with all sorts of aftermarket gauges. We got all sorts of crazy foolery, hackery wiring going on right now. And keep in mind, I didn't put this car together. I've worked on it a little bit, but not in this capacity, right? So it's always just worked wiring wise. They pulled the dash and stuff out to put all new insulation in the floor because this car is notoriously smelly and just not fun to drive. So I started pulling stuff apart to try to figure out where in the marker light system it's grounding. So I've disconnected the switch, which is here on these, right? I've got headlights that work, and I've got brake lights that work, and my horn works. So the horn circuit and your brake light circuit, so when you press the pedal, the lights that light up are all in the same deal. So if your horn doesn't work, assuming your steering wheel is okay, if your horn doesn't work, your brake lights probably aren't working. So we've got brake lights. We still have running lights, right? So on an RX7, these first gens, and I can tell you, let me just get in here. Cars are painted. This color wire right here, so you're gonna see red with a green stripe, is the wire that powers every single one of your running lights. So it powers them to the dash, it powers them to all the markers in the corners, powers them to the taillights. That's the common power wire for running lights system. So, because these gauges change colors when you turn the lights on, I came in here and started disconnecting stuff that is that system. So, in order to just eliminate issues, right? Not eliminate, eliminate a light, but eliminate, get rid of. So in order to eliminate issues, I've been tracing down stuff that happens with this wire. So if you can see, not really, but back here, out of the main harness, this looks like the cigarette lighter harness, is where a pinch splice, which I hate using these things because they always short out and do weird stuff, and this might be the issue. This little pinch splice right here, runs a main power feed up through all this extensions. That's completely unnecessary for running gauges behind your dash, because why do you need this much wiring? And all these little orange and yellow wires are what tell the gauges to go into night mode. So I've eliminated the fact that it is not the gauges causing the issue, because this is a big mess of wires, and you never know. When you have the dash in and out a couple times, you could have pinched a wire or done something dumb. So we've eliminated this spot as the issue. Moving on from that, we now have to look at getting into the cluster. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go ahead and pop the cluster bezel off, pull the cluster out, find that wire, make sure, just inspect it, that it's okay. The second thing, and this is kind of where I figured the issue might be because it's just real sketchy in the back, is, alright, what's up guys? So, we have successfully not fixed the running lights on the white car. But, this video isn't so much about that as it is. We are now going to work or I'd say we are now going to show you guys the entirety of this car, okay? So I worked on the wiring, got us a couple things figured out. I got the wipers working, got the other stuff working. Just when you let a car sit, stuff just kind of deteriorates and goes away. And as you will see in the video comparing this one to that one, and I'll put some driving clips in here after we talk about it for a little bit. This car flat rips, and it's one of those, so like it got put together a long time ago. A lot of different people in our friends group down here have driven this car to the Dragon, to wherever, to this, that, and the other, and it just takes a licking and keeps on kicking. So the car itself, 1979 RX7. It's got a GSLSE fuel tank, axle. Still, you know, here's a pro tip question. Looking at the back of this car and the back of my car, there's one thing that gives away the fact that mine is a 1980 and this is a 1979. Did you get it? See the little black things in the center of the bumper on my car? The two little vertical things? 79s didn't have those. Only 1980s had those extra bumpers. So, I'm going to go ahead and pop the hood and kind of walk you through this, at least a little bit. So, the FC subframe swap, don't let the steering wheel right here necessarily fool you that it has an FC column in it. It doesn't, but you do have to modify some stuff in the column when you go ahead and do that swap. So, I'll show you that here in a second. Get the hood popped. This one's kind of a pain in the butt. All right. So, when I say also 79 probs, and that earlier in the video, the hood prop on early 79 cars is on the passenger side in the United States market, so it's right here. Later model 79s would have had the hood prop on the driver's side for the United States market, so this is kind of one of those cool intricacies of the early ones. Alright, so you can see under here the FC subframe is fitted right there. It's got a 1 inch, I think, or a 1/2 inch spacer right here under the frame to level the subframe and make it sit as it would have in the FC. Right here, the frame of the SA has been cut open and sleeved. You don't want to just bolt the subframe to the frame rails in this car because you'll crush the frame rails. So what Charles did is put a sleeve in it and then put the bolt in that sleeve. So now you can bolt that as tight as you want. So that's how it's done here and here. I believe, actually I don't, this front mount does not share any of the stock first gen cross member bolts, so it's all bolted up in itself. This car also has something weird done to it where the strut tower right here is extended 1 inch up. You can see how it was cut off, brought up, and then welded back on. That's one way you can lower your car without having to sacrifice like shock travel, right? If you take a coilover, for example, and just lower the spring down, you're going to lose shock travel if you don't have coilovers that are adjustable like the whole shock moves. So a lot of these old school, when you have like a Techno Toy Tuning weld-on sleeve, if you're going to lower your car, you're essentially, the shock travel is still there. You're just letting that spring sit lower, which is going to make it so when you hit a bump, it's going to come off the spring and hit the spring again. So you can't put preload in your spring. Anyways, so an aside, but that's how this car is lowered. This car has FC knuckles, spindles, everything on it, FC front coilovers, Turbo 2 brakes. I mean, if you're going to put FC stuff on it, why put the small stuff? So, the steering column questions. Over here, what you have to do, in addition to this kind of weird angular stuff going on here that's from the FC, inside the column itself in the first gen, you have to take the shaft out. That is the first gen piece that goes to the steering box, and put the FC shaft in. There's a roll pin or a bolt in the FC shaft and in this one, and when you unbolt that, you can slide them apart, re-drill the one, slide it in, and put the bolt back in. So now you have an FC lower column and a first gen upper column. And I believe, which Charles can comment below to correct me if I'm wrong or I'll ask him, but I'm pretty sure that's what's done here. Moving even further forward, you've got a stock FC sway bar here. This car has an FC oil cooler, but that's, you know, neither here nor there really for the fact of the matter with this swap. It's just mounted up in the front. As far as the motor, right? This is a bone stock, unported Turbo 2 block. I believe the story is it came out of a car that some doctor bought, and then it didn't run, and then it got parked, and then they bought the car and pulled the motor, had 60,000 miles or something, or it got crashed. So anyways, that's what that is. It has ID 1000s and Bosch 1600s in it, I think, for the injectors, and it has a haltech E6K, which is an older style DOS-based tuning software. So if you've worked on it before, you know you got to button mash the up arrow every time you're trying to do stuff. Stock Series 5 Turbo 2 intakes, front mount intercooler. If you'll notice, this has like an FC style radiator that's tilted forward and V mounted in here. I wouldn't call it V mounted, but there's an electric fan in between the intercooler and the radiator that pushes out, just to keep this cleaner, I guess. Never really had issues with this car getting hot. I mean, I went and drove it real hard today. Didn't have any issues. The one thing where this does get weird, okay, and this is why I say in my other video that the brakes on this car are not as good as the brakes on the silver car. It's just because they're not as confidence inspiring, we'll say, right? So this car has a stock first gen master cylinder. That master cylinder is designed to operate 4 pistons total all the way around, one at each wheel, disc brakes, right? Single piston fronts, single piston rears. Now, you've introduced FC 4 piston front calipers, both sides, right? So now you have, let's see, 10 pistons that you're moving with the same volume master cylinder, right? So it's very important when you change your brakes that you size the master cylinder or proportioning valve or however you set it up such that the pedal, leverage, and push moves the right amount of fluid in order to provide the right brake feedback at the wheels. So what's happening right now is that the SA brake master cylinder cannot move enough fluid to effectively operate these 4-piston calipers. So when you mash the pedal goes really far before it starts to actually work. And we've bled the brakes on this a bunch of times. There's no air in the system. Trust us, it's just got to be that setup. So what you would want to do ideally is make a plate that fits over your stock first-gen booster that you can mount an FC brake master cylinder to, and then you should have the right brake feel, because that brake master cylinder is going to be a bigger diameter, which is going to move more fluid as you push the pedal and operate all the brake calipers properly. So this car has an FC transmission as well, and what you do to make that work in an SA, in an FB, it would basically fit, the shifter location would be right. But the FC transmission in SA, you have to shorten the whole shifter thing. And if someone's interested in doing it, in me showing how all that works, I'll link the RX7 swap video because I think I talk about it in there. But I have to get an FC. I'm going to use an FC transmission to put in this car when I put my bridge motor in that one, because, well, this one's broken, and an RX7 transmission won't fit in an FB because the shifter's too far forward. So the little things. But that's the gist of this car. One thing that is important too, when you do an FC subframe swap, okay? When Charles put this one in there, they lined the wheel up, the subframe up, based on the wheel wells in the car, and then used the stock first-gen strut tower mounts, right? So they just widened the 4-bolt pattern to fit an FC coilover. If you do that, what we've noticed is that this car does not have a lot of caster, which means that you don't have that much feedback in the wheel. So I think it's probably like 2 to 3 degrees of caster. Ideally, you'd have 5 to 6 degrees of caster. So what really needs to happen is we need to shift the subframe further forward, or we need to move the top hats of the shocks back. So multiple ways you can accomplish this, whether it's through a caster and camber adjustment plate or however. But that's really the only thing you're going to need to make sure if you do this swap to think about, because it does drive a little funny. Okay, it's not. Once you get turned in, you're good, but just that initial turn in is not the best with this car. And that's always been a reason, having driven this one, and Charles' other car has a Respeed rack and pinion conversion that maintains the stock first-gen suspension geometry. That handles way better. Out the back, like I said, GSLSE axle drilled for 5 lug. It has a Racing Beat muffler that's, I think, has been cut open and all the baffles are cut out. The car sounds pretty good. Charles did build this car. This is his daughter's car, so the car's name is Sheba, and that's why it's got the fancy rhinestoned out license plate bracket. And yeah, that's about it. One other thing that's super neat on this car is it has no headlight retractors, and it has these little quick release guys that you just pull this up like this, and then this latches back in. Oh, right here, like that, and then they're down. So if you're driving and it gets dark, you got to stop, get out, put your headlights up, get back in, keep going. But that's no big deal. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys are going to enjoy some epic driving footage of this, that you will see the same footage in another video down the road comparing both of these cars. But it's the same car today. We still went out and ripped it. Enjoy the footage. This thing, it gets it. Comment below with any questions, anything you want me to do with this car, more detail, show you this, that, and the other, and I can definitely do that. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. See you in the next video. Keep it rad. It's hard to hit with this FC Trans. It's like all shortened up and stuff. It's further over and it's a weird push in a second. Also, you gotta use that rev limiter to let it get unloaded, otherwise I really didn't like that shift. Straight here, we're going to try to do like a semi-decent I don't like to launch the cars, so I don't want to break them, but we're going to do like a semi-decent little 10 mile per hour roll here, first to third.